We did get everything turned on, correct? Thank you. Appreciate everybody being here on this hot summer day, I guess. I guess it's the coolest day of the July, isn't it? So far. That's right. So, yeah. So, yeah, I guess Friday we're supposed to have some cool weather as well, so. You received the consent agenda via email. Hopefully everybody received it. Any questions or concerns about it? I'll ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I do have one question.
Okay.
Is the community college, are they like late?
No, they always pay after their year starts in July.
Okay,
Yeah, they always pay when their budget starts over.
okay, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. All approve, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. We're good to go. We're open for public comments.
Come on,
Mr.
public.
Dries, any public? Any comments? Sherry? No, you have no comments?
None at this time. I know that's unusual, though.
All righty. Well, we appreciate you being here. I guess we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, and that is Ms. Duvall.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, Prospect 6-22, we told you about this last month. We had two very similar requests come in looking for large parcels of agricultural land. And one of the parcels, we had visits from site consultants yesterday. 3 folks from the site consultancy came in and spent most of the day with us, driving around out in the very dry countryside, looking at properties. So we'll continue to follow up with them. And they were very pleased with the sites that we had proposed, and are putting together a presentation to go back to their client, and hopefully we'll hear more from them within the next couple of weeks. They were hoping to move pretty quickly.
Hopefully you showed them irrigation land, right?
That is what they requested.
All right, good.
Yes,
Good.
yes. And the water was going yesterday when we
Good.
got out there, so they got to see the pumps in action and the
Good.
pivots and everything. Yep. Project Montrose, we don't have an update on. We just continue to stay in touch. This was the company that visited here at the end of March and went back to look through and talk through their options, and we just continue to touch base with them and make sure they don't have questions, but don't know for sure how quickly they'll make a decision. Niagara, again, that prospect visited us in June, and we will be starting weekly calls with them next week to make sure that we're staying on top of everything that is tied to their project as they continue their due diligence. No update on housing project 521. This is one in that west envelope between Garden City and Holcomb. And as you remember, without a wastewater option, we're really kind of limited on what we can do out there for housing. Project 321, this is Hunter's Glen, and Michael Snodgrass, the developer on this, is working through the next phase of RHID. So there's been a lot of discussion back and forth with Neighborhood Development Service Office, and hopefully we'll have everything in place for that to move forward quickly once all the USDA funding is in place. Project Daytona, we did have a discussion with an architectural firm that signed on for this mixed-use development, and they're coming up with some concepts and some conceptual layouts that we can utilize to kind of judge the public's response to a mixed-use development. We don't really have a development like this anywhere in the community, so the developers asked us to kind of get the feel and see what potential tenants and so forth would think of that type of project. So they're on a pretty tight timeline. I think they're intending to have those initial drawings and concepts back to us within 4 to 6 weeks. So the corridor, we have the pre-construction meeting. Everybody say woo-hoo. this afternoon. The general contractor who got the bid on that project, first of all, we're very pleased. We had a lot of bids, and they were all good, solid bids for the infrastructure on the corridor. Ultimately, it went to Crossland, which is the same company that's doing the airport right now. So it should be a really good mix to have them in the community anyway, working on some stuff. So we're very excited about that. Again, we have that pre-construction meeting today. And then once all the bonds are in place, should be ready to rock and roll, and you'll see dirt moving.
So when do you expect dirt to be moving?
Oh, they've got a tight timeline. They're trying to get ahead of the asphalt plants shutting down. So you should see activity. Like I said, the minute bonds are accepted by the city and the county, I think you'll see them dive in.
So you're talking the asphalt plant to the east of town?
Yeah, just
Okay.
making sure that we get asphalt down before we have to wait through the winter to get it.
Gotcha.
Yep. Lots of meetings, lots of things going on. I did get the opportunity to sit in on, they did some statewide grassroots economic development Zoom trainings, if you will. The Department of Commerce and Office of Rural Prosperity did. So I was able to do one on childcare, and it was really well received. Lots of folks were tuned in on it and asked a lot of good questions. So everybody is interested in doing the boot camp. And we don't know when we're going to have time to do a boot camp, but we're working on that. So it's always good to know that the work that we put into childcare planning is paying off not only for us, but for other communities too. Trying to think if there's anything else. Senator Moran will be coming out for his annual conservation tour in August, and there's a reception that they've asked that I share with the board. So when we get the actual invitation for that, I'll share that with you. Certainly they would like to have you there if you're available to do it. And I think that hits all of the high points. Happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Guess we'll move on to the next item on the agenda. Mr. Cottrell.
Well, happy National Scotch Day.
Scotch?
Scotch, yeah. Or Scots Whiskey Day,
Oh, okay.
whatever.
I heard that on the radio.
Yeah, I did too. I said, okay, that's something we'll start off with this morning.
Something to celebrate.
What's your favorite? Cuervo. Excuse me. Okay, so on the industrial side, we had a single RFI from the Department of Commerce last month, or in July, and we actually submitted 2 sites for consideration on that. It's a manufacturing plant, a couple hundred jobs, I think. On the Western Kansas corridor, as Lana said, the pre-construction meeting is this afternoon. Bids were actually only about $100,000 higher than the engineer's estimate that was prepared a year ago. So he guessed real good. And I think the paving asphalt contractor's Klotz.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
But don't hold me to that.
Okay.
The county approved the developer's agreement and the plat for phase 1, which is the commercial highway frontage, on the 18th of this month. Legal counsel is working with the city and the county on the TIF agreement, and then an agreement with the rural water district, since they're putting in the water lines that the water district will take over, so it's kind of like a quasi-governmental entity there. And then we've had discussions with both Wheatland Electric and Black Hills Energy on providing service and how they're going to serve that development. So, on the residential residential side, this evening, Lana and I have the pleasure of attending Holcomb City Council meeting. Where they will adopt the RHID program and the necessary resolutions to get that started. If everything is done, or gets done this evening, we'll send the resolution off to the Department of Commerce, and the Secretary's got 30 days in which to approve or deny, but he's approving everything else, so we don't see any hiccups in that regard. We identified 2 parcels of property inside the city limits. One is the Holcomb Commons, the old Pappas ready-mix site, and then there's a vacant parcel in the kind of the southeast corner of the city, just on the north side of the railroad track. Okay, county's RHID program was approved by Secretary of Commerce on June 8th, and we're working with 3 different developers on helping them get their RHIDs put together. So, that's starting out gangbusters, Mr. Commissioner. Good. And then we're working on a master plan level, maybe even higher than master plan, like 100,000 feet elevation plan for a big chunk of property just outside the city and to the northeast, from Jenny Barker out a couple of miles. So just to see what we can do.
North, Jenny Barker?
Well, Jenny Barker runs north-south.
Yes,
East of Jenny Barker,
east of Jenny Barker. Okay.
north of 156.
Okay.
Kind of. Then it kind of jumps over 156 too. That general area, Mary Street, Jenny Barker North.
Thank you.
Sort
To
of.
be a combination of residential and commercial and
Mhm.
everything.
Kind of looking at if the US 50 bypass takes place from out by the airport and up and around the north side, how that might all affect development.
So it'd be inside of all of that.
Inside and outside, both sides. Any questions?
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it. Looks like Mr. Scott Osh, you're up next.
All right, the website had 4,500 visits last month. The most viewed posts were Tetro's 70th anniversary and new HQ celebration event, the museum flea market festival, and a story about juniors who graduated early. Facebook pages, you can see the Greater Garden City page had 622 visits and 1,700 engagements. The journal page had 715 page visits and 4,100, 4,200 engagements. Top stories there were a retail restaurant survey that Shannon put together. The rodeo team from the college headed to a competition, Finney County Fair, First National Bank of Syracuse business seminar, and a photo of new turf at Buffalo Stadium. Twitter had nearly 1,800 tweet views, 316 profile visits, and we added about 10 followers. So that's about it. Any questions on social media?
Those post engagements, what, define that? Tell me what that is.
I mean, somebody looked at the post and went to their feed, they interacted with it in some way, liked.
Asking
commented,
questions or whatever?
Liked or commented or something.
Okay, got it. Okay,
Clicked on it.
okay, thank you. Any questions for Scott? Everybody had a chance to look at that site? Take a look at it, see what's going on there? Thank you, Scott. We'll move on to Mr. Shannon Dick.
All right, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm gonna be quick today because we're in the middle of that collection for that restaurant and retail survey, and next month we'll have much, much more. I will say that we're over 1,000 responses right now,
Holy smokes, that's pretty good, isn't it?
which is really good.
Yes.
Really good. The average time to take that survey is about 20 minutes.
Wow.
So 1,000 people doing something for 20 minutes is a big,
Amazing.
asset that we'll be able to use. and so it's coming out pretty good. Some of the things that are coming out so far, I mean, it's just, if you haven't taken it so far, you can go onto the Facebook page, or we can send you a link, so you can do that. But it's really looking at what people would like to see for restaurants and retail, and then types of food and stuff like that. So we can kind of give guidance. More and more often, it seems like we have people that are coming here, especially like with the retail recruiter, who would say, hey, what would fit in this area? And we just haven't really had a really comprehensive study like this done, like this ever, but even just the informal stuff. So this will be a really good comprehensive thing where they can say, hey, what does your community think about this, or what would be a good fit, and we have that data ready to go. Some of the things, like people for donuts want Krispy Kreme, and for sandwiches want Panera, and if you've ever heard of this small thing called Olive Garden? It's a
That's for a
restaurant.
salad,
That's
or?
a thing. They do have salad. They do have salad. So the things like that.
And olives.
And olives in the salad. Kohl's as one of the top retail stores. People want grocery stores, things like that. But we have out of that 1,000 responses, we have people from so far. From Walsh and Lamar, Colorado, Guyman and Turpin, Oklahoma, Perryton, Colorado, Buckland, Larned, Great Bend, Colby, Oakley. Filling out the survey. Again, it's a 20-minute survey. And again, it's only about what do you want to see in Garden City. So this is another one of the things I've been starting to map it out, and it really falls on top of that trade area that we all know is our trade area. But also it's good to see the we's in those from those people that don't live in Garden City that say, we would like to see this. I mean, including their community with ours as a retail and restaurant destination. So it's a really good testament to the strength of the hub that we built here, and people in other communities feel like we are part of them, and the growth that we have is part of their growth as well. Good seeing that. Also, something that's interesting so far is the highest age group that's responding is 25 to 34-year-olds, which is a good age group to be getting
Excellent.
information about. So, again, I'll have all sorts of graphs and slides and stuff like that. You'll be sick of it next month. So.
So they have to identify where they're from?
One of the questions that I give them is identify the city that you're the closest to. And there's a big drop-down list,
How many
and write it.
responses did we get from Dot City?
We are at about 20 or 30. I would say when we have things like this, we know that they're definitely 100% in our trade area. I think people in Scott City and in Kearney County and other places, I mean, even Colorado are more apt to kind of participate in things like this, even though we know that they'll participate in the actual location when it opens up. So, but we have got some good and liberal and stuff like that. So it's all across the board.
So you've obviously looked at some of the responses. What was the biggest surprise that you've seen in the responses that they sent you?
I don't know if that's a surprise. It is interesting. The thing that's the most, well, I'll say interesting.
Okay.
And when we're looking at data, you should always go into it without having assumptions. So I mean, some of the most interesting things is you do see a difference between age differences between the young crowd and the older crowd. I mean, for example, my second post about this was the number 4 most desired restaurant at the time. And this was only after 200 responses. For the young crowd under 35, it was Dave & Buster's, which is arcade kind of thing.
Kidding me?
Yep.
Yeah.
For the over 55 crowd, which some of you might be in, is Cracker Barrel.
It's what?
So Cracker
Really?
Barrel. So there's the difference between the young crowd and the older crowd. I mean, you can just see it in the data. So it's really interesting. That it makes sense, but
Sure.
it's
I heard they serve alcohol now. Do they?
I don't know, I haven't been there for a couple of months.
Haven't been there for a while.
Road trip, we gotta find out.
Could you investigate that for us?
We can do that. We'll put that in as part of the study.
They
So-
only operate on interstates.
Right.
Normally.
Well, you have to have a certain amount of traffic.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be interstate, but it does have to have a certain amount of traffic.
And it
So-
has to be inconvenient to get to.
Yeah.
That's the biggest site requirement, is you have to be able to drive past it before you notice you missed the
Are
exit.
they partners with someone that they have to drive by to get to it?
Apparently, there's some trick, there's some magic to it.
The
yeah.
billboard is always turned around, you missed it. But, so if you want to be a part of that survey, we are probably not going to do anything this comprehensive again. We'll probably every year, every 2 years, kind of look at pieces and do it, but this will probably be the only time that we're going to do this level of, hundreds of things that we're collecting at once. So go ahead and take that survey. It's going to probably close up at the end of this week.
And we're going to provide that survey information to
Our partners
Partners.
as requested,
Okay.
specifically like retail recruiters,
Okay,
people
yes.
who are working
Yeah.
on developments, things like that, local franchisers
okay.
and things like that.
I think it might, depending on how far along he is with the report, we may do that at our fifth week meeting at the end of August.
That would be good information, I think.
About-
Very
yeah, but-
good information. Good.
All right. We'll know more next month.
Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you.
Lana, do we have any new business that we need to discuss?
We do not.
Any new business from the board? Anybody have anything? Okay. How about old business? We got any old business we need to discuss?
I have a question. Anything going on with the Garden National Bank land? I mean.
The First National Bank?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have some updates for you.
I'm sorry, I had said,
We
okay.
have some updates for you. Mhm.
Well, with that, I guess we are prepared to go into executive session. And is there a time frame that we need to go into an executive session?
I would suggest you set aside 30 minutes.
Holy smoke, that's a good,
Wow.
that's a good one. Okay.
My apologies, but
Quick.
I would.
Bring coffee?
And, right?
You got cups? I can share some. So I guess we'll move into executive session to, it's 7:52 to what? 8:35, somewhere in
Yeah, I
that
would say by the
neighborhood?
time clear out, I would do 7:55 to 8:25.
Okay. I hear a
So
motion? David,
I second it.
second. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign. We'll be moving into executive session. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Appreciate it.